Okay, so this says that we are going live here at New Frontier Immigration Law. I'm Hillary Walsh. I'm an immigration lawyer, immigration advocate in Phoenix, Arizona. And today I'm so excited to talk to you about ways that you can fix your status without leaving the United States. Okay, so let's say that you're here and you don't want to leave or you cannot leave for some reason. To be able to fix your status. Now, I've got a nice board for us so we can see it and learn from it. You'll see that it's all marked up, and that's because every time we have kids come into the firm, including my 4 kids, we make sure to give them a whiteboard and these markers, and the kids have all either taken off with or misplaced all my markers. So all I have today is this ugly brown, but it's going to do the trick because I'm excited to talk to you about this important lesson today. Okay, so for you to adjust your status, it means you have to have status to begin with. We can't go from not having some sort of status into having status. That's basically what the gist of what an adjustment of status means, okay? So the common way to refer to this is an AOS, adjustment of status, just the acronym for it, nothing fancy. There's 2 parts to an adjustment of status, okay? We'll go over the first part and then we're going to touch on the second part. I'm like Vanna White here, okay? See if I can get this sorted just so. Okay, so the first thing that we have to have for you to, and now if you're here and let's say you have status, but maybe a family member doesn't, this is going to be so helpful for you. And I really hope that you will share this video with them. So it will give them the hope to know that even if I didn't enter with permission, or perhaps I've overstayed my allowance of being here, this is a way for them to be able to get status, for them to have residency, for them to have a driver's license, for them to have a social security number, for them to have safety and security in this country. Okay, so first we have to have a lawful entry. Now, there are ways that we can address perhaps if you don't have a lawful entry. I actually just thought of one more way. I didn't have one here. That's going to be in the same branch as VAWA. So let's get to it. All right. So sorry, I have like my little ring light and it's kind of distracting. But anyway, first, like these are the different ways that you can have a lawful entry, okay? You can enter with a visa. Let's say you came as a student, you came as a tourist, any other way that you may have come on a visa, okay? You are in the visa waiver program because you are from Korea or someone, or you're in Australia, you're Polish, something like that, okay? You came one way or the other, you came in lawfully with a visa. Another way is perhaps you were waived through. This is a really common thing, and so many people overlook that this is a way that is a lawful entry. Perhaps you were in the backseat of a car when you were 3 years old, and your uncle was driving the car, US citizen, and showed his US passport when he pulled up. The officer, the Border Patrol officer looks at the passport, sees you and maybe a sibling or 2 in the back seat and waves you through. Now, there's more proof that we have to have to show that this was a lawful entry, but I want you to know that this wave through is considered to be a lawful entry, okay? So maybe you've talked to people before and they said, how did you come in? And you said illegally. But if this was this type of scenario that I'm describing, is it fits what happened in your life, then that is not an illegal entry. That's what's called a lawful entry, and it was the wave through. Whether we can prove that is always the tricky part. So definitely meet with an experienced immigration lawyer who wants to advocate for you and do things as safely as possible, okay? Next, we're gonna have what's called parole in place. And we actually just got a green card today based on our work doing parole in place. So it's what inspired me to talk to you today about this and do this video. So parole in place basically means you're letting me in. It's as if you're at the border saying, please let me in, and they parole you in. They give you permission to enter, but you get to do it in place. You get to do it in the United States rather than having to go to the border and ask for entry, okay? The way you get to do this is if your spouse, child, or parent was or is in the US military. So they're a veteran, they're active duty, and they were honorably discharged, okay? So if it's not an honorable discharge, say they get kicked out of the military, man, that really sucks. We appreciate your family member's service, and I'm sorry to hear that it ended poorly, but that wouldn't be able to help you with parole in place. But if you have someone who's actively in the military, let's say they're going through boot camp, etc., is your child, or perhaps your spouse, like me, my husband's in the Air Force, or perhaps your parent was in the military. We can do parole in place through that family member. It's basically out of gratitude to your family member's service to our country that Congress created this option. It's called parole in place. So you fix right where you are. And today we had a young woman who was brought to the country when she was just a few months old. And she's been married to, and I think she has 3 or 4 kids now with an Army veteran. And now I got to call her today and welcome her and congratulate her. She is the newest lawful permanent resident of the United States of America because we did the parole in place option, and she did not leave. Okay, she did not have to go back to Mexico in order to get her green card because we did this option. And this is true for any of these options. Okay, so it's really exciting, completely life-changing, and just gives her such peace of mind. It was exciting to hear her go get her driver's license. And I want this to be the same story for you. I want to do a Facebook Live talking about your success story, because it's your life. Your life is so important, and your experience and your ability to be free is so important. And that's what we want for you. Okay, next up, we have advanced parole. Okay, so this is for all the peeps out there who have DACA. A while back, I would not have recommended you take advantage of advanced parole because it was definitely not really a safe option with the administration. However, my attitude has really changed with the current administration. There still bears risk, but if you get what's called advanced parole, it's basically a permission slip to re-enter the country. Okay, you're saying, I'm here, I have a case pending, or I have something pending, like I have DACA, or I have VAWA that's pending, or I have an adjustment of status that's pending, like I've filed for a green card and it's pending. And I want your permission to be able to leave and your promise that you'll let me come back in one time, okay? And so if you have DACA and you do this, let's say you were 4 years old when your parents brought you to the United States without permission, you crossed the border, whatever, okay? You don't have a lawful entry, right? So you can't, even if you're married to a US citizen right now, barring some of the things I'm going to talk about in a moment, you don't have a lawful entry, so you can't move to the next step, which is to apply for your green card. The way we can help you with DACA, however, and it can be someone else, but we would love to be part of your journey, is you can do what we call a flagpole entry and exit. So basically, we get you advanced parole, you leave, you drive around the flagpole in Mexico, and you come right back into the United States with your advanced parole, okay? Once you do that, you have a lawful entry. And so then you can move to the next phase down here, which is applying for your green card, okay? And all the while you have DACA, okay? Or some other form of pending relief, okay? Pending option. That is an amazing opportunity for those of you who currently have DACA or who are applying, and especially if you are married to a US citizen, or you have a child who's going to be 21 at some point in the near future who can petition for you, which we'll talk about that in just a moment. But please file that away, because I wouldn't have told you that a year ago. So this is definitely administrative specific. Next up, we have, okay, 245I. This was something where family members, if they filed for you to have status, resident or citizen, filed for you before April 30th, 2001, your priority date is eventually going to become current. And this, once this is current for you, and it's kind of a complicated thing. I've done a separate video just on 245I if you want to scroll through and find it, or you can call us and we'll go over it with you. But a family member who's petitioned for you before April 30th, on or before April 30th, 2001, that petition, once it's current, based on what your category was at the time it was filed, that can basically equate to a lawful entry. It becomes a lawful entry. It forgives one unlawful entry, okay? So it's a great option too. Just not too long ago, we were able to, I mean, it was maybe 10 days ago, we were able to get a woman her green card based on 245I. She's 35, 36, something like that. And she'd been here since she was a little girl. and has U.S. citizen children who were able to help petition for her as well. And now she has status, so it's really incredible. I guess she has to be in her 40s, but anyway, my math is not so good. The last option I want to visit with you about is called VAWA, okay? VAWA stands for the Violence Against Women Act, but it applies to men and women equally. It just was created because, as you know, there's a lot more violence against women throughout the world and in the United States than there is against men. So they called it the Violence Against Women Act, but in immigration, we can just call it the Violence Against You Act, okay? So when you have a U.S. citizen child over the age of 21 who has been cruel to you in a host of ways, has been extremely cruel to you, or if your spouse, who's a U.S. citizen or a resident, has been extremely cruel to you, this can be the basis for getting a lawful entry. You can fix here without leaving. Now, the words extreme cruelty, they conjure up a lot of different images in your mind. And what I want to invite you to do is not to start thinking and ruling out the option for VAWA for you just because you think, oh, no one's been extremely cruel to me. Because what I think is extreme cruelty is different than what you think is extreme cruelty. And the only person whose opinion of what extreme cruelty, whose opinion matters, is the officer who's USCIS, okay? The person sitting at the desk in USCIS. And the law has created a uniform standard for what extreme cruelty is. So if anything within your heart kind of raises a red flag and says, I want to talk to someone about this because my child, whether they were 15, 17, or they're 29, and they're currently over the age of 21, they have been extremely cruel to me at some point in time, perhaps. And I want to visit with someone to find out if that qualifies, or perhaps my spouse. You know, if your spouse has ever hit you, if your spouse has ever threatened to call ICE on you, if your spouse has ever locked you out of the home, made you walk home from from a party or something like that, different things that, you know, it sucks when those things happen in our marriages, but those are things that can help you fix your status as well. So it's important, don't rule yourself out based on kind of what's going through your mind as you hear me talking. Please just give us a call and we'll visit with you about what qualifies, okay? So these are the ways that basically convert to or equate to in immigration law as having a lawful entry. Once you tick this box, we get to move on. We get to collect $200. How much is it in Monopoly that you get to collect? $500. We'll go for that because that's what it would probably equate to today with inflation. Then we want to get you, my screen over here, we want to get you where your immediate relative can petition for you. And that's going to be your U.S. citizen spouse or your U.S. citizen child over 21. So basically, we need two components. I'm going to go ahead and set this down. We need two components, a lawful entry. And again, lawful entry can be various things. So perhaps we have the forgiveness through 245I, or we have extreme cruelty or battery happening with VAWA, or we have a wave through. All of these things under immigration law umbrella of they all fall under the umbrella of lawful entry. So that's step one. And then we need to have someone who can petition for you. And that's going to be one of your immediate family members who's a U.S. citizen over the age of 21, if that's your kiddo, or it's going to be your U.S. citizen spouse. Okay. I hope this has been helpful. And I just want to reiterate that some of the success stories of the people who come in our doors and have been told no by their attorneys in the past, the woman who we got a green card for today, for example, I remember them coming in, and had we not gone over in detail every single option, including has your spouse ever served in the United States military? And they were like, well, yeah, but what does that matter? And I'm like, it makes a world of difference. So, and the world of difference came in the mail today in a little envelope with a little card that's going to completely change this woman's life, her whole family's life. I want that to be the same case for you. And the only way for that to happen is for you to call us. Our phone number is 623-742-5400. I'll drop it in the comments as well. You can also send us a message here on Facebook. We are so responsive on Facebook. We're so responsive on YouTube as well. All we want is for us to be able to help as many people as possible. That is the mission of New Frontier Immigration Law. You deserve to live the very best life available to you, and your immigration status shouldn't hold you back from that amazing life that you deserve to have. Thank you so much. Give us a call.